Hi, I'm Miss MMM. Thank you for joining me on my channel here today. So, we're going to do another Netflix video. I actually have a lot of recommendations in this one. I'm kind of surprised. So, what we're going to do are romantic comedies. And I just want to start off with 10 Things I Hate About You is available. The late Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Larissa Olenek, who used to be so cool, and Alex Mack back in the 90s, David Krumholtz, who's always good, and Gabrielle Union, they also co-star. And you know that as the one with Heath Ledger, and he's like the bad boy, and then Julia Stiles is the bookworm, but her sister can't date unless she can, and they famously made fun of that in Not Another Teen Movie, of course. The Money Pit, which it's listed under romantic comedies, and all I can remember is this being hilarious, so I'm going to include it because it's hilarious. It's Tom Hanks in the 80s when he's pretty young, and Shelley Long, and they're like a newly married couple, and they buy this like dream house of theirs, but everything about it is messed up. So they're just sinking all their money into this money pit. And it's very, I don't know, it just always stuck with me. Me and my dad still like use the term money pit these days. Grosse Point Blank, which it stars John Cusack and Minnie Driver, co-stars Deanna Aykroyd, Joan Cusack, Hank Azaria, and the awesome Jeremy Piven. And it's about this hitman who has to go back and kill somebody during the weekend of his high school reunion, his 10-year reunion. It was so critically acclaimed, and one of my Facebook friends made a great point when they were recently watching it, which is, it's an okay movie. It's critically acclaimed. Mainly, I just love John Cusack, and Minnie Driver's a great actress, so that's why I'm including it. The Amazing Grease, which everyone knows as that great musical, and it was like set in the 50s, of course, starring John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, and then the awesome Stalker Channing, freaking love her and everything, and Jeff Conaway. So, it's the bad boy and the good girl, and then they each have to like compromise. Well, sort of like it seems like they each give up their identity, but then in the end they compromise. And that's always a great movie. I've been watching since I was a little kid. Okay, so we've got a couple Diane Lane movies, which is awesome. Must Love Dogs, which is also starring John Cusack because he made a lot of rom-coms, and also Stalker Channing is in it. And it's just, I love Must Love Dogs. Honestly, when it came out, I was like, this does not look good at all. I will never watch this movie. And then I did, and then I bought the DVD, and then I made everyone I know watch it because it's hilarious and cheesy, and it's just a good time. And it's about like meeting people from online ads, and then just the way John Cusack and Diane Lane play off each other. I love it. Under the Tuscan Sun, which also stars Diane Lane and then Sandra Oh, who's her friend. And Diane Lane is this writer, and she's divorced, and then she just decides to buy like a beautiful house, and over there, and it's more about how beautiful it is. There's another movie coming out with her like this that looks like it's cribbed off this movie, and should be selling like trips to Europe. So, and also Must Love Dogs. She's divorced in that as well. The Princess Bride, which everyone knows that it's classic, starring Carrie Elwes, who I met at a convention once, and he's so nice and handsome still, and just lovely. Robin Wright, who I've never been a huge fan of, but she does a good job. And I recommend reading or listening to the audiobook version of Carrie Elwes' book about the making of this movie, which he was actually promoting whenever I met him at a convention. It's just really good and interesting, especially if you like any of the following actors who were in the movie. Mandy Patinkin, who's amazing. I always loved in Dead Like Me. Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Wallace Shawn, which we all know from Clueless, if you're in my age group. Andre the Giant, Fred Savage, Peter Falk, Carol Kane, which I always knew from Scrooge growing up, and Billy Crystal. And then we have a couple Sandra Bullock movies. Well, three. I have 2 Weeks Notice, which co-stars Hugh Grant and Alicia Witt. And that's the one where she works under him, they're like lawyers or whatever. It's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie, but it's like so bad. It's amusing. I don't know. And I just think like, I don't know. There's just something about it. And I just love both of them. I really don't think they have chemistry together. It's just, yeah. While You Were Sleeping, which is a classic with like the most rapey setup ever, which is just Sandra Bullock is like a toll booth worker in New York, and she's in love with Peter Gallagher, and he comes by all the time, but she like never really even talks to him. And then she saves his life and he's in a coma, and his family gets the idea that they're engaged, so she just goes with it. But then at the same time she falls for his brother Bill Pullman. And I've always loved Bill Pullman. He was great at romantic comedies. Even if you ever saw Mr. Wrong, which I don't think is available, but he had chemistry, in my opinion, with Ellen DeGeneres in that. That's how good Bill Pullman is. And Peter Gallagher, who is in a coma most of the movie, but is an amazing actor and so nice. If you ever like see anything he's done and you happen to be watching it and you want to tell him how great he is on Twitter, tell him, because he's super nice and just very friendly. Practical Magic, which I do understand it being listed as a romantic comedy. For me, I've always felt it's more about like families and sisters and stuff, but also co-stars literally I want to say my favorite actress, Nicole Kidman. Stalker Channing's also in this film. So you can see lots of times actors get kind of pigeonholed, although I think it's just because Stalker Channing's been around for a while, so she's got to do a lot of movies. Diane Weiss, Goran Vishnik, which I never see him in anything anymore. Aidan Quinn, when he was like super hot. Evan Rachel Wood, and Mark Feuerstein. I'm still terrible at saying his name. But, so we got a couple Hugh Jackman movies. Someone Like You, with Ashley Judd, Greg Kinnear, Marissa Tomei, and Ellen Barkin, which honestly, that was another movie I was like, I will never watch that, but it like really grew on me. And Ashley Judd's like the spurned girl, and she's trying to like figure out why men do these things, and it's kind of interesting how she like investigates like the psyche and stuff. And then Hugh Jackman's just like this buff guy who walks around with no clothes, and he's like, well, look at me, I'll sleep with everybody. It's amusing. Kate and Leopold, which is like a cute little movie that never got very popular, but it co-stars as well as Hugh Jackman, Meg Ryan, Liev Schreiber, Breckenmeyer, Natasha Lyonne, and Bradley Whitford. And that's like a time travel movie about the family who invented elevators. I haven't watched it in a couple years, but it's really adorable. And also kind of funny, like Meg Ryan thinks she's losing her mind because he's supposed to be from the past, Hugh Jackman. Chasing Amy, which I feel is more of a drama. It's listed under romantic comedies, and any excuse to say, go watch this Kevin Smith movie if you've never seen it, starring Ben Affleck and Joey Lauren Adams with a bunch of other Kevin Smith, friends and actors that he likes. You should check that one out for sure if you've never seen it. What is a romantic comedy list without a couple Matthew McConaughey movies? So How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which is one of my favorites, and Cracked is completely correct in their After Hours video saying that they're terrible people out to ruin each other, but that's why it's funny. It's like literally, I wrote in my blog, a Netflix post about this years ago, that a lot of times romantic comedies are not funny. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is funny and is a romantic comedy and just has great actors like Kate Hudson co-starring with Matthew McConaughey is just perfect. Adam Goldberg, Thomas Lennon, and Bebe Neuwirth co-star. And yeah, she's a magazine writer who's going to do an article about how to get a guy to fall in love with you. And no, I'm sorry, how to get a guy to leave you alone because her girlfriend is terrible at dating. And then he is like an advertising jerk who's like, I'm going to sell diamonds to people. And they're like, oh, how are you going to do that? And he's like, I'll just show you how I can make women fall in love with me. They'll fall in love with my ad campaign the same way, which is like, the whole premise is ridiculous and great. The Wedding Planner, also a classic, co-starring Jennifer Lopez as well as Matthew McConaughey. Judy Greer and Kathy Najimy are also in it, and it's just, by the way, I love Judy Greer. She's always great. But The Wedding Planner is just like classic, like late 90s, early 2000s Jennifer Lopez romantic comedy. In my opinion, her best, if not her best one of her best ones. A Life Less Ordinary, which is from the makers of Trainspotting, and I love it, and people hate this movie because it's so weird. It stars Ewan McGregor, Cameron Diaz, Holly Hunter, Delroy Lindo, and Dan Hedaya, and it's this girl who's like very, rich and spoiled and stuff, never had a job and stuff, and it came out the same time as Excess Baggage, and everybody lumped them both together, and both of them were very poorly reviewed. I love both of them for different, they're different, but Life Less Ordinary is my favorite out of the two. Ewan McGregor is like this down on his luck guy. He's like, has like a blue collar job, and then they tell him he's getting fired, and all he wants to do is like make his girlfriend happy and write a book. And he doesn't even want to write like a crazy great book. He just wants to write like a book you read out of the drugstore. And he meets Cameron Diaz, who's kidnapping herself, and she pulls him into kidnapping her so she can take her dad's money. Works at the same company he was working at. And it's really weird. It's a fantasy. It's got angels who are hitmen. It's got dancing sequences out of nowhere. It's it's great. I just love this movie. Great soundtrack, by the way, too. My Father the Hero, which is a weird movie, and it stars, but it's one I watched all the time growing up. Katherine Heigl, you know, from Grey's Anatomy, all her romantic comedies, and Gerard Depardieu, who was hilarious, and he's her dad, and he wants to help her. Like, they don't really spend time together or whatever. They're on like a family trip, and she likes this guy, so her dad pretends to be her boyfriend, so this guy like thinks she's attractive and will like her, and it's really weird, but it's hilarious. I got Okay, so one of a couple of made-for-TV movies. My Fake Fiance from ABC Family stars Melissa Joan Hart and Joey Lawrence, who pretend like they're getting married so they can get money and presents. And I just love both of them. I met Melissa Joan Hart one time. She's super nice and awesome. Loved her, you know, since Clarissa, Sabrina, everything she does. Then Joey Lawrence, and then of course they had their own show together after this because they have such great chemistry. You know, Joey Lawrence from Blossom, because obviously he's awesome. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, just one of my favorite Marilyn Monroe movies, and it co-stars Jane Russell, who's amazing, and they're showgirls, and they're going to move to another country, and then, like, you know, guys happen, but it's really great. I love that movie. Working Girl, starring Melanie Griffith, Sigourney Weaver, Harrison Ford, Alec Baldwin, Joan Cusack, and Oliver Platt, which is just such a fantastic movie, and a lot of people just know because it had like a big hit song, but it's Melanie Griffith is this girl, and she's trying to be more than a secretary, but like she can never break through, and then Sigourney Weaver's her boss, and she steals her idea. So while Sigourney Weaver is out like skiing in the mountains and stuff, Melanie Griffith comes in and like takes over her life, but she has every right to do it because Sigourney Weaver was really screwing her over, and she gets gets going with one of like the men that Sigourney Weaver's seeing, who is just like this gorgeous 80s Harrison Ford. And she gets to do fun stuff like take her pills and wear her clothes that cost thousands of dollars. And her ex is like this jerk Alec Baldwin, because Alec Baldwin's great at playing jerks. And Joan Cusack's like her friend, and they get to do like the big 80s hair. Oliver Platt is really sleazy, and it's just a great little movie. Timer, which is this really unique movie that Emma Caulfield made and starred in, and you know her from Buffy. And it's like set in the future, and people have like countdowns on their wrist that tells them when they're meeting like the one. But it's pretty much playing with the idea that, you know, everybody is supposed to follow this, you know, white picket fence life that's like the ideology thing growing up or whatever. And it's like, well, do you have to do whatever people want you to do, or can you live your own life? The Switch, which is not a movie I ever planned to watch, but Jason Bateman, who I used to hate, this is like the movie that was like, okay, you have to stop hating him, because obviously you only hated him. He's such a great actor, and the original movies you saw him in, he was a jerk. So I was projecting. Jason Bateman is hilarious in this, with Jennifer Aniston, Patrick Wilson, Jeff Goldblum, Juliette Lewis, and Jennifer Aniston is like his best friend. She's gonna have she got a sperm donor, and she's gonna do herself up, you know, inject herself and everything. And he gets like hammered and switches the sperm with his own, and then the kid is just like him. He's like total Aspie. I mean, that's what I read into it, but like total like type A person, and you can just see the kid is his. It's funny, and Jason Bateman's really good in it. 40 Days and 40 Nights, which is like one of my favorite movies, and I'm not religious at all. I'm an atheist, but Josh Hartnett is the star. It's like that perfect time of Josh Hartnett's career to me, when he was like, what, mid-20s. And Shannon Sossamon, who's always beautiful and talented, is the girl. And she's like, you know, the girl that he ends up falling for. And Paulo Costanzo, which he's just a great actor, but I haven't seen him in a little while, but he's his like quirky friend. They work at one of those net nanny places that used to be around a lot back in the day, when people were more worried about their kids seeing stuff on the internet, but now all the kids have phones in their hand. I'm sorry, he doesn't work there. The girl works there. I think he works at like a men's magazine or something, and he decided, since he had this really bad breakup with his ex who keeps using him, he's gonna, for Lent, because he's religious, he's going to give up sex for 40 days and 40 nights. And then, like, his friends are all betting on how long he's going to actually make it, so he can't sleep with the girl of his dreams. But super funny, awesome, like, just makes you think. Sliding Doors, which I was never a fan of Gwyneth Paltrow, and I feel like this is one of the movies that made me appreciate, like, that she can do good work. And she even does a British accent. So Gwyneth Paltrow has this boyfriend who's a jerk, and it shows he's cheating on her, and it's called Sliding Doors because it splits off. So it shows what would happen if she didn't catch the guy cheating and she kept living her normal life with this jerk, or if she did find out he was cheating and then she ends up falling for John Hannah, who we know is the brother from the Mummy movies. I don't know what he's doing these days. And Jeanne Tripplehorn is also in it. I haven't seen her in a while. But also pretty quirky movie and very 90s. Picture Perfect, which is my favorite Jennifer Aniston movie, and I wish it wasn't like so hated because it's just wonderful. Jennifer Aniston has a huge crush on somebody she works with, Kevin Bacon, in super hot 90s Kevin Bacon, although he's always hot, so, and I love his band. Okay, so, but then she goes to a wedding and she gets a picture with the wedding photographer, videographer, whatever, is Jay Moore. And this is when Jay Moore was like really cute and sweet. It was like the go years. And her friend is Ileana Douglas, who's always amazing, who was later in that show with Jay Moore. And action. Basically, she kind of orchestrates the whole thing. It's really weird. It's kind of a takeoff on how in the old days guys were supposed to be like married and stuff for their image. Well, she works in advertising, and they're always having like events for her work, and they think that if you're not married and stuff, then you're not going to be loyal to the company because you can't be loyal to a person or something like that. So they fabricate this thing where she's marrying Jay Moore, which ironically helps her career and makes Kevin Bacon like her. And then it's like sort of a love triangle thing. Dear Santa, which is not like a great movie, and I thought it was like made for TV Hallmark or something, but I'm not positive and I can't find anything about that, so maybe not. Stars Amy Acker, who was amazing on Angel, by the way, and that's why I'm including it, because I love her and she's really good in this movie. She's like a spoiled rich girl whose parents finally cut her off, and she's like 29 or 30, and she finds this Christmas letter. You know how kids write letters to Santa, and it's from this little girl. It's like, my daddy, he needs, a new mom for me or whatever. And it just turns out that this letter she found is like this rich guy who owns a soup kitchen and stuff. And that's why, I'm not saying that's why he's rich. I'm just saying he also does that. So it's like, shows he's a good person. And she's trying to get with him. He already has somebody, but like doesn't really like her, I guess. And it's just, one of those little sweet Christmas movies. And Amy Acker's great in it. Usually if someone's playing that kind of character where like the rich girl, they're not very likable, but she is. 12 Dates of Christmas, which is sort of like, it's a movie about a blind date meets like Groundhog Day, where the day keeps getting relived, and that stars Amy Smart, who's always great, and Mark Pogos from Saved by the Bell, and that's an ABC Family movie, also a Christmas movie made for TV, so check that out. I haven't watched that in a few years, but I remember it being really adorable. So that is, oh, I'm sorry. So I have a lot of movies there. And then there's a few I want to recommend that I need to watch, but they look like they'd probably be good. I apologize if these get taken off because Netflix likes to just remove movies really quickly. But there's a movie called Man Up starring Simon Pegg and Lake Bell. And, Simon Pegg from like Shaun of the Dead and all those movies. And Lake Bell, who I loved on Children's Hospital. She's a really good actress. There's a movie called Someone Mary Berry. And that stars Tyler Labine from the movie with the devil, the TV show with the devil. He's on that Deadbeat show now, but he's always funny. And my dad watched it and said it was pretty good. He has to like get married and get his inheritance or something. Damon Wayans Jr. and Lucy Punch co-star. How to Steal a Million. And I have never seen this movie, but I've heard of it. I've heard good things. It stars Audrey Hepburn and Peter O'Toole, and it's like an art heist movie. And I do enjoy Audrey Hepburn, so I need to check that out. The original Bedazzled from 1967, starring Peter Cook, Raquel Welch, and Dudley Moore. And that's whenever, like, the devil is, he's basically buying your soul in exchange for 7 wishes. And they remade this in the 90s with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley. And I love the remake. I know it's not popular, but, so I definitely need to check that out. So, got a ton of movies to watch. If you want to watch a romantic comedy, depending on what actor you like, just check one of these out on Netflix. What would you recommend? Which one is your favorite out of these movies? Did I miss any that are really good? Maybe I didn't get a chance to see them. Who is your favorite actor and actress who plays in a lot of these movies? And what other genres would you like me to like recommend stuff from Netflix or other streaming services, because I have seen a lot of movies. And thank you for joining me today. Come back to the Miss Emma MM channel whenever you get a chance.